Hi, I'm John Tabler and welcome back. Today we're going to touch on some things I've actually touched on in the past, but I really thought what a better time to revisit some of these things than when I got a brand new bag of organic whole wheat that just came. It's a 50-pound bag. It says 100% organic hard red winter wheat berries. And I don't know, they call them berries, seeds, kernels, but it's great to have because it'll make a lot of bread. And this bread, when you grind the wheat, it's just so fresh. And you can get great flour in the stores. Flour in the stores can be really confusing. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Some is bleached, some's all-purpose, some's high extraction, and some says 100% whole wheat. But then sometimes it's real fine compared to other ones. So I'm going to make it really simple what the differences are between flour. And it is really simple. That's the thing. All these labels and everything just really make things complicated, way more complicated than they need to be. And so if you just think of it like starting from the wheat, what they're calling wheat berries. I mean, to me, they're seeds, kernels, berries. If you take just a big scoop of the wheat, and this is a grinder. This is called Wondermill. It's great. And you know, I started listing all the things that I use in the description down below the video. If you open that where it says see more, I think that's what it says, see more, then you'll see everything that I use. I'm going to put it in a more formal store setting so you can see that, but it's there now, so you can look at it. But all the things I use are down there. The Wondermill's down there. You can just go through them. There's just a few things that make things really easy. If you buy your flour, you already have that. But I'm going to touch on what the flour in the store is compared to what I'm going to do here. So these are the whole wheat berries put right in the grinder. Now I'm going to grind it, and it sounds like a vacuum cleaner. And I don't really know why my filter there has been popping up a little. Maybe it shrunk a little bit. I keep my eye on it. Usually there's not much problems with this, but it grinds through for a little bit now. It's probably going to take a minute. It might take a minute or two. You can also get grinders that are not electric that you crank. But let me tell you something. I've seen people crank out what will make a loaf of bread, and it's a lot of work. It would be great if the power's off, but it's not something you're really going to want to be doing. I don't think, unless you really want your exercise when the power is on. I've actually seen people hook them up to bicycles and other things like that, because that thing is moving. I don't know what the revolutions per minute are, but it really, really moves. But the hand grinder in an emergency, if you needed to really make food, make bread, it'd be great to have. Now this one costs a little bit. It's a few $100s, but the cost that it saves you in food over time is just tremendous. You're not going to have a moldy loaf of bread like you're going to get at the store from having yeast in it. This is going to be made with whole grain, 100% flour, and when you ferment it, it preserves itself, so it will not go bad. It'll get dried out, but, and there that speeds up, means it's done. But as I was saying, the bread will dry out, but I mean, you can eat it continually. It's preserved. And that's a big difference between regular bread. Well, why is it regular bread? Poison bread. The bread that's at the store. And this. So, I'm going to get rid of these wheat kernels because I want to be able to show you what the flour looks like. So when we take the lid off, now I've got an entire bucket of flour, and you can see that this plate is white, so you can easily see what the color is of that. And it's 100% ground up, obviously. Oh, crushed wheat. And so in the store, to get this, it's going to have to say 100% whole wheat flour. And even then sometimes it will be sifted or what's called bolted. Actually what they do is they take that whole portion of the wheat, which is made up of 3 parts, the bran, the bran, the germ, and the endosperm. And it's 3 parts, and most of the vitamins are in the bran and the germ. But most of the flour that's in the store, high extraction flour, these type of things, have the endosperm is all that's left. And that is just a carbohydrate, like very low in nutrition in comparatively to the rest of the wheat, but they take it out. And so that's what high extraction is. Extraction is taking out the bran and the germ, which are the 2 most nutritious parts of wheat. And how they do that is this is called bolting. And so bolting, it's a weird name because the name comes from fabric. A bolt of fabric is actually a piece of cloth, and originally it was put through silk. But you can see this is ultra fine. When you put some of this flour into what essentially is a strainer, and you shake it, you can see it's snowing basically. And what it's doing is filtering out the bran and the germ for a lot of it. You know, a lot of it comes through, and so much actually still comes through that they say that this is still way more nutritious than anything you're going to get in the store that has had extraction done to it, which is most all of it. So now we have flour that's been basically sifted, and the bran is now left very thick here. And I'll sprinkle some of the bran back on the side, and you can see how much darker it is. But it's the part that contains all the vitamins. Well, I'd say all the vitamins, but it contains a lot of the vitamins, B vitamins. You can imagine in a plant, it's really hard to break down and say this part does contain it and this doesn't. But when you look it up online, you'll see what I mean, that a huge amount of the nutrition of wheat is in the parts that they remove. And that's why on the wheat package, it'll say enriched, because they actually passed a law that says they can't sell it as food. They process it so much, removed everything from it, and then put chemicals in it to turn it white that it can't legally be sold as food unless they put something back in that they legislated, which is really still a non-food. It's B vitamins from the petroleum industry are one of the places they get them, but they try to turn it back into a food so they can sell it. But you can see the difference in color. This is what's called bolted, and it's very healthy. This is a great solution for flour, for making what happens is once you do that, the heavier parts are out of it, so then you can make cakes and lighter things, pastries and things like that, but you still have all the nutrition. And so that's awesome to be able to do that. The bran's over here, you can keep that and make bran muffins, but the point I'm making is that you can take whole wheat, grind it, and then you can create what you need to make light, fluffy bread. The bread I make happens to be dense because I keep all the vitamins and everything in there. My main purpose for eating sourdough bread is nutrition and the health benefits that come from it. And of course, the taste is incredible. When I have ever tasted a piece of white bread, just to see what it tastes like afterwards, it tastes somewhat like, I don't know, wallpaper paste, glue, something. It's just like nothing. There's everything's been removed from it. So this is a great way, obviously, to get the nutrients you need. It's way different. And I wanted to show you how that you can take wheat, and for somebody who says that it's too dense or too thick, it's because it hasn't been sifted. And so you can take all the bran completely out. and bake light pastries and all sorts of things and still keep all the vitamins intact and all the nutrition intact. And so that's something you can do with a grinder like this. The wheat itself, well, I buy it from Central Milling, and it's in the description. I put the links down there where I get it. You can buy it a lot of places. I've just enjoy getting it there because once you get somewhere that you're happy, no, I don't go looking around a whole bunch of places. The freight can be a little bit expensive, but after you factor in the costs of everything, a loaf of bread, you're going to see me make one, but a loaf of bread is so quick to make and easy, and the cost of it is so low. So now I've set the grinder out of the way, and so what I'm going to do is just show you how quickly now I'm able to make the bread that I can bake tomorrow. And in a video coming up, I will compare the bolted or the sifted flour compared to the not sifted flour. But I'm just putting an amount for about the size of a piece of bread I'd want. And once I put that in there, then this morning, about 7 hours ago, this starter had about that much in it, and I added about 4 tablespoons of dry flour from right here to it, and put a little bit of purified water in it, stirred it, and it was still there. And then now it's risen to the top. And so I'm going to take 1 spoonful, 2 spoonfuls, 3. Usually I use a tablespoon, but that's enough. Put a little bit more. You can see I've taken about an inch out of there or so, about that much. Then I'm going to put water in. This part, I was helping a friend, and it was his first time doing it without measuring. And let me tell you, measuring and all that stuff is a big hassle. There's no point. You don't need to do it. I'm just taking flour and I'm putting water in it. And I've already put about 4 spoonfuls of starter in there, but that starter's like a fire. Like, it doesn't matter if you use 1 match or 2 matches or 3 matches, the fire's still going to start. Well, same thing with the starter. Now, what you do is you just put a little less water than you think you might need. Start on the dry side, get your hands in there, then add just a teeny bit more in your hand. You'll know pretty quick. And I like to use my fists and push down on it, and then work it through just like that. Use that water up, put a little bit more. It doesn't take very much water. If you put too much water, it'll get too gooey. And all you do is just add a little bit more flour back to it. But you don't want it runny or anything like that. You want it to be a ball, because the fermentation process really makes it more gooey than it started. And you can see right here, it's still just a hair bit dry, but rather than really pour it on there, I can lift that out and put a little on the bottom of the surface of what I'm using, and then turn that around both ways. The water popped out there on the plate. And now that's just perfect. Look at this. You see how I got that? Slightly gooey. Just slightly. You really can't mess it up. I mean, as long as it'll go into a ball like that, you're good. You're good. That's pretty much bread preparation. And you don't have to do anything else to it. Period. Now, I also have these containers. I've just found this is just what works best for me. Is I just use one of these containers. I have the link down below, but I got them, I think, at Walmart. And this is a flour towel. These are great because they don't have little pieces on them like a regular bath towel will, and it doesn't grab hold of the dough, and so it doesn't stick. But then we take a little flour, sprinkle around on top of that towel, and then lay that in, sprinkle a little on the top. This is just so it won't stick, and we're done. That's your bread preparation. I take another one and put it on the top to hold any moisture in, and I set that aside. You can actually set it up on top of the refrigerator if you want. It's a little bit warmer up there, and it's gonna ferment a little better. You don't want it really too cold, but it doesn't really matter. Come back in 12 hours, and what I'm gonna do at that point is take this. I bake in a Dutch oven, which is basically a pot with a lid. I preheat it 500 I put it in the oven and preheat it. And then I take it out, use parchment paper, and flip this over on top of the parchment paper. And then lower it in the Dutch oven, put the lid on, and put it in, and bake it for 30 minutes, 500, as close as you can get to it. 30 minutes, take it out, lift it out, put it on a cooling rack, and you're done. There's nothing else to it. You don't need salt. You don't need any other ingredients. Now you can salt to taste, and if you really want to, you can put salt in before. It doesn't matter. It doesn't do anything. There's no magic chemistry process that it does anything. It's just however you like it to taste it. I personally put olive oil and salt on a plate and dip it in there, or I put butter on that's salted already. So, you know, it's the same as cooking anything. You don't need the salt to make it, but it's really good. It's really good to add afterwards like that. And that's how you make bread. It's so simple. And I actually make the process longer than what I take by doing these videos, because you can imagine sometimes you're ready to go, you know, go to bed or whatever, and oh yeah, I need to make my flour for tomorrow, because you had your starter ready to go, and you're like, all right, and you'll go out and do it real quick. Take 3 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah, the flour may or may not be ground, but that only takes a minute. And then you throw it in the bowl, boom, 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 and just like that. I like my sound effects. But that's done. And then we'll bake it, and we're gonna have great bread. Now, I'll do another video where I compare the whole wheat flour with the sifted or bolted, what's called bolted flour. I'm not gonna get cheap bleached, chemicalized white flour that's not good for you. There's no reason to eat that. I'm probably not going to make soda pop bread or anything like that. I just invented that just now, but I don't eat that stuff. It's not good for you. And the amazing thing about this is it's the best thing for you. It's also the very best tasting. You don't take a downgrade in taste. It's the best. So hit like and subscribe down below. Give this a try. Obviously, you're going to love it. I guarantee that. And report down in the comments and let me know how you did at it. And I will see you in the next video.